Alrighty, we're back in the shop again today. Another couple hours during nap time. Last episode, you probably remember, we flipped the leaf spring hangers. That allowed us to drop about 4 inches. I've still got to figure out what the new pinion angle is and put the wedges in for the leaf springs. But I think I'm going to wait because I might end up replacing these leaf springs anyway. It might be easier just to replace them than try to clean them up and paint them. Saved you guys the trouble. I pulled the bed off, put the wheels back on. Everything looks pretty good. The next while, what I'm gonna be working on is getting the interior taken apart, the front clip off, basically get this down to the frame. Because I think we're either gonna grind the crap out of it or wire wheel it or sandblast it. I'm not totally sure, but we've got to get the frame exposed and cleaned up so that we can get it treated. I'm thinking of doing something like a pour 15. If any of you have any experience with that, let me know. I've heard good things about it and I've heard bad things about it. So I'm not really sure. I'd like to talk to somebody that has dealt with it before. But once we are able to get the front clip off, the cab off, and the interior taken apart, then we'll move to that stage. As you can see, I got a little carried away the other day and took out this door panel and window and everything. I'll show you how I do this other side. The seat, I'm not sure how I'm gonna restore it. I might just have to end up getting a new one or just new foam and cover. I'm not totally certain. I kind of like this color, so I might try to do something similar to that. These are some crappy Sun Pro gauges that I got off Amazon years and years ago. I think I'm gonna keep all the original gauges. This has got to come off so we can clean it or just replace the, I don't know if it's plastic. I think it's plastic. Probably be cheaper and easier to just replace that. But yeah, this is a quick view of the inside. It's in good shape. And this is the actual original color of the truck. It was repainted to this color later. I don't know when, but this is the original color. So that's why we're not trying to restore this paint job, because it really is not that good anyway to begin with. Well, just got the floor liner pulled out. I got the whole interior pulled out. These bolts were a little bit of a bugger because I didn't have the right bit. So I just ended up using some vice grips. But I found some surprises, which I figured we would. Got some rust, some more rust. It's all rusted down through here as well. So we're gonna end up having to pull out some floor pans. Also along here, this is not gonna fly, so we're gonna have to pull that out, and that's totally rusted through. I didn't think it was originally, but I guess it is. That's okay though. We're gonna be pulling the cab corner mount out anyway, because it's all rusted out, and replacing that, so we'll just do this all at the same time. Some more rust along here. So that's gonna be a little bit of a learning curve for me, since I haven't dealt with anything like that, but that's what we're here to do. So I was taking apart the dash. I ran into a couple issues. It's getting this lights switch taken out and the wiper washer one. I did some looking online, so hopefully this will help you figure it out. On the back of the light module, on the very top, there's a little, it's almost about 1/8 of an inch. It's a really small button that you actually depress. And if you feel under here, you can feel it. The wiper washer one's a little bit different. I'll show you guys what to do on that. But if you feel up under here, you can push that down and then it'll actually pull out, and you can see here, see if I can get that to focus, how it's got that notch. You're actually pushing that button down and it's releasing from around there. So this is the light one. On the wiper washer, let me pull you in a little bit closer. See if I can get it a little bit focused, but you can see right here on the top of the knob how it's got that little indent. What I take is a pick and I just pulled on it, stick it in there on that indent. Essentially, see if I can get it with one hand. Just like that. I'll pick it up and show you. So here's a closer look at what that looks like, and essentially what you're doing is grabbing that pick and you're just depressing this. It's a little friction fitting. Depressing that, and that releases the tension. And so when I get this pulled off, I'll show you what that switch module looks like. In and I'll show you what the top of this little module looks like. If I can get some light down here. Okay, so bear with me for a second. I'm gonna try to hold a flashlight, a phone, and explain what's going on here. Okay, see that little button right there? That little button is what you depress to pull that light knob out. Undone. I didn't realize, I wrestled with this thing forever, but I didn't realize that there was a bolt going in this side, on the inside here, and up under here going into this side. So I think I've got everything undone. Hopefully this pops right off. There goes the full speaker. Oh yeah. Nice. Now that I've got that out of the way, I'm gonna pull everything out of here, label it, label wires. This is something I probably should have talked about, but I haven't. I've just made bags and labels and labeled fasteners, and I've got a bin here of everything that's labeled. Fasteners, driver door hardware, passenger door hardware, bed bolts, everything's labeled. The reason that I'm doing that, even the windows and everything here, the reason that I'm doing that is because I was a little bit scarred as a child, I guess. My grandpa had an old Bonneville sitting in the barn, and my cousins got a hold of it, took it all apart, and everything got lost. And ultimately, I don't really know what happened to that car after they passed away. So the last thing that I want is something to happen to me mid-project here and everything be lost, and nobody's ever able to put the truck back together. Also, I'm kind of an idiot, so it's definitely gonna help me when it comes time to put everything back together. I just want it to be done right, and that's why it's so important to me. I got the inside pretty well tore out of the truck at this point. I think we spoke about this before, but there's still some rust. Didn't want to show it just because honestly it's kind of boring. There was a lot of labeling and that took a ton of time and just taking notes to make sure everything goes back exactly how it was. I also didn't really show a whole lot of pulling the electronics out of under the hood here. Electronics mean like 3 things. So there's like a voltage regulator here, an ignition module, I think is what it's called, starter solenoid. I got all those wires pulled, bunch of things labeled. That way everything goes back together the way it needs to. My next plan is to pull the grill and bumper off, pull the fenders off, and depending on where I'm at, my father-in-law's trying to find his cherry picker. He's got in his shop somewhere, and I'll either pull the motor before or after we pull the cab, or I'll just leave the motor and pull all this first. So that's where we're at. I'll let you guys join along for the ride, but sure I mentioned this before. The reason I'm taking all of this off before I pull the motor is it's got to come off anyway. So I figure might as well pull it off now, and then that makes pulling the motor and trans out a lot easier. So I've got the fenders off. Those were a little bit of a bugger, a lot of broken bolts. You can see there's tons of bolts holding those bad boys on. So got those all undone. Radiator pulled and the radiator support. The bolts holding these in totally rusted, snapped off. So those will need to be replaced. But really, as I'm looking under here, got to beat that out. But everything seems to just be superficial rust. So I don't think it's going to be too difficult to get cleaned up. I've been calling around and getting some quotes. I thought I was going to restore the frame on my own, and I might still do that. But it sounds like it's only going to cost me maybe $1,000 or $1,500 to have it sandblasted and powder coated, just black, which might be worth it for me as far as the time goes that it would take to restore it and sand it and paint it. So hopefully that is true and it wasn't like a bait and switch kind of thing that they're gonna do on me. So that might be the route that I end up going. Wow, we got a lot done this video. So we got the entire front clip pulled off, the interior pulled out, we got the doors pulled apart. I'll pull those off in a little bit. I know it took a little while to get this one out. We've been really busy with work, and we recently put in a golf simulator, kid stuff, family stuff. So you guys know how it goes, but I'll continue to post videos and keep you guys updated. In the next video, what I'm gonna do is pull the motor out, pull the trans and drive shaft out, probably also the fuel tank, and then hopefully I can get the cab off and really assess what's going on with these cab corners. So I think both of these are gonna have to be replaced. They're just too rusted. There's not a ton of rust on the cab other than that in the back corner. I thought it would be way worse. So that does give me some hope. So hopefully we can get the cab off, the motor, everything out, pressure wash the frame, and then see where we land as far as whether I restore it or I just take it to somebody to power code. So we'll keep you updated. Thanks, guys.